Okay, all right. So let's start with a tweet. The mind of the average Nigerian is such an interesting social experimental specimen. To see daily how it is wired shocks me even as a Nigerian. This person is not an outlier. This is the average Nigerian, the insatiable thirst for worship, even as a non entity. And let's go to the tweet itself. The tweet it's quoting. So you can see from the tweet there is this Olamide. I ordered an item from a vendor. After a while, I sent proof of payment, and a response was received with thanks. Shaking my head in last patronage. Then this person said, "Well, payment received with thanks is not bad, but then this would have done justice. Payment received ma. Thank you so much for your patronage. We look forward to your continuous patronage." Somebody has said, wasn't expecting all of that, to be honest. The thanks just doesn't sit well with me. The thanks, just simple thanks without the addendum of madam. Then the response to that was what I first read, that the mind of the average Nigerian is such an interesting social experimental specimen. A Nigerian CEO once sacked his employee because he didn't come on WhatsApp to say thank you after receiving salary. Month end entitled salary for a job done, not a favor, not handout, not salary. Yeah, so I've heard this many times where people, because you work for them, they want you to thank you for the salary. They want you to thank them for the salary they are paying you. I've heard that too. And someone has said, "Can I say the heart of an average Nigerian is built to actually oppress and show off dominance? Could this be why we keep voting oppressive leaders instead of compassionate ones?" And the one I love the most is this person said that this reminds me of my former boss. She expects each and every one of us to come individually to say thank you to her after you receive your salary alert. I got there and scattered it. She will come to my office and say, "Mrs. So and so, she achieved salary in." That is Yoruba for saying that, "Have you not seen your salary?" So that I can reply yes and thank her. But I won't. It will interest you to know that we were both employees at the company. So yeah. Welcome to the School of Heart and Life. Let's make this a teachable moment. Alright, so let me start on this note that this behavior is not unique to Nigerians. There are many societies with individuals who are obsessed with respect. There are Asian communities, I think I've read about them online, or I'm aware of Japan and South Korea, where hierarchy is an important aspect in relationships between their people. And in many African societies, I am sure this exists too. I've not been to any African country outside Nigeria, but from online spaces, I can guess, that in many African and Asian societies, respect is treated like oxygen. People demand it, people fight for it, people even get violent when they feel that they're not getting enough of that respect from you. I remember seeing a man some time ago. I think that was like 6 years ago. I was in Lagos, and I remember seeing a man slap a young boy for going past him early in the morning without greeting him. Yeah, it was a large thwack slap. So why do most adults in these societies react to disrespect, in quote now, as if you are threatening their entire existence? So today I want to explore a simple but uncomfortable answer to that. And the word is visibility, or rather the starvation of visibility. If you are raised in a culture that prioritizes hierarchy, where age determines value, you will subconsciously learn a dangerous lesson very early in life. That is, some people are visible and some are not visible. So if you're a child, automatically it means that you belong to the not visible class. So that means you must bow, you must prostrate, you must kneel, you must move aside, you must lower your eyes, you must swallow your feelings. And why should you do all that? Not because you are wrong, not because you misbehave, no, but because you are younger than this person that you are doing all that for. So it's a simple message that says that you are not worth acknowledging yet because of this position that you are. So as a child, you will subconsciously absorb this into your bone, where you will internalize that, oh, I'm not visible because I'm small. People like me don't get acknowledged. To be seen, I must grow, dominate, or rise above someone else. So this is the seed for the personalities in this tweet. In this kind of societies, like the Nigerian ones and some Asian societies, visibility is treated like a scarce resource. And so children in those societies, children who grow up in those societies, will learn that power is equal to acknowledgement. Age is equal to status. Hierarchy is equal to existence. So you are only somebody. You are only someone when you are older, when you are richer, when you are higher in rank. And if you are not, then you are nobody. If you are not older, if you are not richer, if you are not higher, you are nobody. This is what molds the psychology of the Nigerian society, because you need to remember that for a child, visibility is the validation of their existence. You can ruin a child emotionally and mentally by how much attention you deprive them. So when they are denied this, they learn that for them to be respected, they have to extract it, they have to get it however they can. If they want to be acknowledged and seen, they must demand and take it by force. So now imagine that child, this child grows up to have a younger sibling, a junior colleague, an apprentice, their own child, or a stranger they perceive as below them, or even an online vendor they are working with. Suddenly, they now have this small reservoir of authority where they now have a tiny perch above another human being. So they will wring every last drop of visibility out of that, because they were starved of it for years. And this is why some adults will erupt at the slightest disrespect, because they treat hierarchical differences like life or death matter. Some even will resort to intimidation, threats, or even violence just to feel seen, just for you to say, hey, I want you to see me. And I'm not trying to be the devil's advocate here, but you should know that when they do that, they're not reacting to your behavior, what they think is disrespect. They are reacting to a lifelong hunger, a famine, or should I say an emotional famine of acknowledgement. So when someone fails to greet them properly, or does not use a title, professor, doctor, or does not bow to their authority, the wound is deeper than that moment. It is touching their childhood. It is touching their fear, or their fear of being invisible. And this now creates a generational tragedy where invisible children grow into adults obsessed with being visible. The adults will now enforce the same hierarchy on the next generation, and the cycle repeats over and over again. So you now have a society where respect is weaponized, where everyone else exists to supply you attention and visibility. A society where authority becomes emotional oxygen, where visibility is rationed, where acknowledgement becomes a currency. And in such societies, the obsession with respect is not tantamount to a psychological compensation. It is the adult version of a child who was never seen, whose existence was never acknowledged. So when a society teaches children that they are invisible, it will create adults who will do anything to be seen. And that anger, that aggression, that entitlement you see in tweets like this are about people who were raised in a childhood where visibility was denied. And until societies rethink how they treat the youngest and lower members of their societies, this obsession, this crazy obsession, will continue. So, what can we do? How can we solve this? Well, I believe that we have to start to imagine a society where we can invert this hierarchy, where children, not elders, children carry the highest social visibility, where a child's humanity is not something they grow into, but something they own unconditionally from the moment they arrive. So when I see a child as an adult, I don't demand them to kneel, to bow, to prostrate. I don't demand any of those ritualized submissions. But instead, as an adult, those things I expect from them, I will do for those children. Not just as a ritual, but to fully acknowledge the existence of that child. So imagine a kind of society where the child grows up in an environment where their feelings matter, where their presence is recognized, where their voice is valid, where their boundaries are respected. And I don't mean all this as if it's a reward for them or a privilege. I mean all this being done to them as their default state of being. Of course, they will grow into adults who won't grow up chasing acknowledgement. They won't grow up striving for visibility. And they won't grow up believing hierarchy is the only way to be seen. They would simply grow up already full. A child whose existence is acknowledged without conditions will definitely become an adult who doesn't need to dominate to feel important, doesn't read disagreement as an attack, will not crave submission from others, will not collapse when ignored, and will not feel invisible unless someone bows to them. And all of this will happen because for them, visibility is not scarce. Visibility is familiar. It's not something they have to steal. It's not something they have to scavenge out of every relationship. Their sense of self was not built on deprivation. So now let's scale this up. Let's imagine a society. Let's imagine an entire generation with that emotional foundation. And you get a society, unlike Nigeria, where people will not confuse power with their worth, where leadership will come from competence instead of age, where respect will flow horizontally instead of vertically, where hierarchy will become a tool and motivation for servant leadership and not a weapon, where full-grown adults will not collapse or erupt over minor disrespect, where parenting will become a partnership and not a dictatorship, where a grown-ass man will not be close to tears because a child did not prostrate. In this society, we won't have weak children. We will have stable adults. We will have adults who don't need to intimidate others to feel real. We will have adults who don't measure their value by how much people bow to them. We will have adults who feel visible because they always were visible. Think about it. If starving visibility from young soul breed the thirst for dominance as they grow up, then it makes sense that abundant visibility will create security. The amount of oppressors and oppression that we have in this country and the world at large can often be traced back to adults who were not acknowledged when they were children. And I believe that can only be redeemed when we start to acknowledge kids unconditionally. The attention we've given hierarchy in a society like Nigeria is because of fear. Fear. Adults who were denied visibility as children will internalize this primal fear that believes if they're not above someone else, they will disappear. And if people grow up knowing they matter, that they are visible, that they acknowledge that their voice counts, then that security will produce community. A community of people that won't need hierarchy to feel safe. They won't produce men who need dominance over women to feel safe or to feel real, who need submission to feel like a real man. This is the world I'm imagining, where nobody needs to be diminished in order to feel seen. A society where the youngest among us grow into adults who are not hungry for validation because they were fed from the beginning. So now, if you are an adult, listen to this, and you cannot imagine a world where we don't need these physical indicators of respect to feel like an adult, where people don't have to prostrate to you or contort their bodies to make you feel honored. If that word feels wrong to you, or disrespectful, or dangerous, then pause, right? Pause. Sit with that discomfort. Strip away all the excuses, all the it's our culture, our tradition. Forget all that. Forget all that culture, tradition, respect all that culture, and ask yourself honestly, what am I scared of? What am I afraid of? Because beneath all that your talk of, oh, this is our custom, this is our culture, this is everything, there is a quieter, more fragile truth. You are scared of becoming invisible. You are scared that without hierarchy, you will be ordinary. You are scared that without someone beneath you, you will lose your definition. You are scared that without the choreography of obedience, no one will see you at all. So the question is not, so you want a society where people won't prostrate for their elders? No, 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 no. The question is that why do you feel you will disappear if they don't?